Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special report about my petition, Shaker Lane School, and the town meeting. This is by Straight Talk producer, George A. Sanders. First of all, I want to mention the passing of one of our beloved citizens, the former chairperson of the COA board, Marge Payne. Please keep her family in our prayers, because we all need prayer, and I would like to ask you to keep this family in your prayer, because it is important. When we lose a loved one, it is a very hard thing. And I want to thank you very much. I'd like to start off by talking about my petition that I collected 131 signatures on. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of the people that signed my petition. I knocked on the doors, rung the doorbells, and had a few people, actually two, my wife, and one other, 3, 4 people that collected a few signatures here and there for me. But primarily, I hit the pavement out there, going from door to door. And a lot of people was receptive to the fact that what I was trying to do. And I thank you for signing that petition. The petition was about trying to get the town to increase what was supposed to be known as extra money, the $500K, and I was asking that if you got extra money and you got $1 million, why don't we put the money towards the school, Shaker Lane School? This petition was to come before the town meeting, which it will. But last week, I had a very long, hour-plus conversation with the chairman of the FinCon. And it was in regard to my petition and what information that was in this plan, financial plan, that they was trying to do. One of the things is that I went away with a clear understanding of what the chairman of the FinCom is trying to do. He is trying to lower the amount of money that taxpayers are going to be hit with in their debt exclusion override of Prop 2.5 to fund the Shaker Lane School. I did not know exactly what they were trying to do with this $500,000. Let me tell you what I learned from this chairman. The town is trying to take money that's in our normal budget levy and set aside $500,000 yearly to help pay down the annual debt payment on the loan. That is different from having extra money to apply to a loan to help pay it down faster. That is not what the $500,000 is there for. But that was my understanding, because it was not quite clear in this plan, this financial plan, as to exactly what they was trying to do. I learned that from the chairman. And when I learned that, I told him then I would have never initiated a petition because, for one, there's not a guarantee. He said to me, George, I do not have a problem with the petition as far as what you were trying to do. He said the only thing is we cannot guarantee we're going to have $500,000 to set aside. So that's understandable. I truly understand exactly what was said. But it wasn't written in the financial plan that this $500K was going to be used to help reduce the annual debt payment on the loan. That makes a big difference. So that is what happened. When I sat down with him, I learned the true meaning of what the $500K was about, because they're trying to support the school. If it's passed, they're trying to support it out of two budgets. Out of a budget that's in levy and the out of levy budget, which is the debt exclusion. They're trying to take money that you're paying through your regular taxes that the town is collecting. They're trying to set aside a $500,000 so that they can use it to help reduce, which I believe is about 4.1 or $4.2 million a year on that loan that they have to pay. So they're trying to reduce it by paying out of two budgets. The in-levy budget, $500,000 over 20 years. And what they're trying to do is start building up in an account for the school this $500,000. And what the chairman said to me was this. He said, what we're trying to do is to try to prevent the payments that you're going to have to pay through the debt exclusion from spiking. Like 1 year it's up here, the next year it's down here, the next year it jumps up here. So he wanted to try to keep it an even flow for every year over 20 years. And as it stands right now, I believe the number that they're working with, which I know for a fact that he told me the calculation of the interest was being based on 5%. So what they're trying to do is to start putting money away so that they can use this so that you do not have to pay, which would be over a 20-year period of time, $10 million coming out of your pocket. So I think that's a good thing. And I think you need to know what the chairman is really, truly trying to do in terms of using two budgets to pay for this school loan. So that was not clear to me when I started the petition. So I just want to tell you that I do not believe my effort was in vain in terms of what I was trying to do for the taxpayers here in the town of Littleton. But I am glad that I had that opportunity to sit down with him, and he showed me exactly what was trying to do. And he said to me, he said, George, you know, maybe I didn't explain it well enough to point out that's what we are really trying to do. And I said, well, you know, maybe, you know, I'm not going to say it's your fault. I'm just saying that that was not the understanding. And I think that should have been written for clarity there about that 500K, because I said I never would have initiated a petition had I known what you truly was trying to do with 500K. So I want you to know that. The 500K inside the levy, what will it do? If the town can, as I just got through saying, the town would drop the $73.7 million. That includes the principal and the interest. As it stands right now, these are the found figures. These are the actual costs, unless something comes up later that would change that. The 73.7 include principal and interest, and this is over a 20-year period. So if they can take that 500K and put that aside over 20 years, that will be $10 million. That will drop the 73.7 down to 63.7. In other words, that $10 million will not be collected from you through the debt exclusion. So that's a good thing. That won't be coming out of people's pockets. But let me go one step further. What happens if the town cannot make the 500K for 20 years? There is no guarantee that they'll be able to set aside $500,000 every year. So, if they can't, this is what will happen. The taxpayers will pay all annual loan payment through the debt exclusion override for the Shaker Lane School. So, in other words, now it's not $63.7 million that the debt exclusion is going to pay. It is $73.7 million that the debt exclusion is going to pay. That's if they cannot save $500,000 every year. I want to make that clear to you. They're trying to pay, if this school passes, they're trying to pay out of two budgets the annual payment for the loan. $500,000 will come out the regular levy budget that the town has, which is every year. The debt exclusion will collect the rest of the money that is needed for that annual payment on that loan over the next 20 years. Let's pray that the town is able to put away $500,000 over 20 years, thereby not collecting the $10 million from us by having everything to be paid for through the debt exclusion for that school for 20 years. Let's keep that on our prayer list, that they're able to put that money aside. And I thank the chairman for what his insight is in regards to trying to make it less painful for taxpayers. I know I said that I didn't think that they were trying to help you or worry about what your tax bill was going to be. I had to back up and correct myself and say, listen, now that I see what you're trying to do, I am now appreciative of saying to you, thank you for trying to make it less for us. And as it stands right now, that figure of the 73.7 total amount, actual amount, unless something changes, they're looking at roughly the debt exclusion of $719, roughly. That is with them paying the $500K from the in-levy budget. So if they have to go to all of it, to the outside levy, which is the debt exclusion, I believe it will jump up somewhere around $90 to $100. So it would be like 8 something starting off, which they have it broken down like the first 5 or 6 years, and then it goes 6 to 10 or 12 years, and then 12 to 20 years or whatever. They got a breakdown figure on that roughly, but each year that debt exclusion will go down. So it's almost like at the high point, which will start off initially, if they don't have the money to lower the first payment, then it's going to be high. And wherever they're able to fill in and get to 500, then that year it should drop down as to what they ask you to pay. But the year that they don't have it, then it's going to go up. So that's important for you to understand that. So based upon my petition, what I am going to do is that I'm going to give leave to withdraw without prejudice. What that means is no action will be taken on my petition at the town meeting, and based on the action that I am requesting for it to be withdrawn without prejudice simply means at a later date it can be brought back up. But if I say with prejudice, that means that it can never be brought up again. So I wanted to be able to say, in case I need to revisit what they're doing, then it could be a subject matter once again. And the other thing that the chairman told me, which is important, and I want the citizen here in Littleton to know, is that he says at the annual meeting of the town meeting, or if they go in for the special meeting and there's budget adjustments or whatever the case is, he said you can always ask before you pass the town budget. He said, ask the question, do you have the $500,000 according to that physical plan that you put together for Shaker Lane School? Do you have that $500,000 available, set aside for the annual payment to coming up? If they say yes, then that's good. So we know that our annual debt exclusion is not going to jump up that year. So at the same time, by us asking that, he said, before you go ahead and prove it, he said, at least you know that someone is following the plan that was put in place. But if they say no, he said, you can ask, well, why you're not following the plan that was put in place to put this $500,000 aside so that you wouldn't have to go to the taxpayers and ask the taxpayer to increase their debt exclusion for that year. He said you can do that before a budget is passed. He said you can ask the question, and somebody should be able to tell you why that's not taking place. He said, but you should press forth and insist that they follow the plan that they put together and said that this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to pay this debt for this new Shaker Lane school. So I wanted you to know that. Because if the good Lord gives me the strength and everything, keep me on this earth, I'm going to make these town meetings and I'm going to ask that question. Well, not that they have set aside this $500,000 instead of coming back to you, asking you to kick in for the $500,000. So that is what is going to happen to the petition. And again, I say thank to each and every one of you for signing the petition. It was not done in vain. As a matter of fact, it was good because the chair wanted to know exactly what I was trying to do. And when I explained to him what I was trying to do, then he explained to me how this was not the intent. And that's when he said to me, perhaps I didn't explain it well enough. I said, I think you explained things well. I just think that wasn't written in clarity about that $500,000 because I never knew you was trying to pay for this school out of two budgets. So now you know that they're trying to pay for the school out of two budgets. Let's talk about the loss if the school is voted down. And the Lord be my judge of all things. It is my hope and my prayer that we pass this school article at the town meeting as well as at the election on November the 1st. At the town meeting, because money is involved, it takes a 2/3 vote to pass it. At the election, it only requires on the ballot a majority to pass. The town is sort of kind of anticipating that there's probably going to be somewhere between maybe 1,000 to 1,200 people going to come out at the town meeting. At least the town clerk is prepared to set up 1,200 chairs between the gymnasium there at the middle school and the cafeteria in the school. That's a lot of people if we get that many out. And because we have the new clickers, that will sort of kind of go pretty fast, I guess, compared to hand raising and counting and so forth. So we are moving with advancement here, and I believe that at the election, she has some new voting machines, which is good, which is great, because we've been had some antiquated stuff here for a long, long time. So hopefully at these two events, the town meeting and the election, that the Shaker Lane School will pass. That's my prayer. Talking about if it's voted down. Here are some of the things that you're going to need to do, sort of kind of right off the bat. One, You need to provide extra space at Shaker Lane School. That is the whole situation as it stands right now. There is not adequate space in that building for teaching our pupils. So to do that, what does that mean, extra space, if they vote it down? It is said that there's going to be a need for at least 6 class modules, which must be installed at a cost of approximately $6 million. And they say anywhere between $500,000 and up is for the utilities that has to be tied in to those 6 trailers, along with the electric, the water, the sewer, the furniture that's needed inside, the heat, air condition, all that. They said at least $500,000 or more dollars to tie all those needed things in place. That you have to do, because the state is not going to let you continue to have that school in the condition that it is in if we decide and say, no, we don't want to build a school. They're going to make us bring that school up to par. And when I say bring it up to par, I'm just talking about the very minimal things that need to be done, so forth and so on. So if we already need to spend $6 million, the question is, what do we do next? Well, the school needs a lot of repairs and probably some equipment replaced. I know they talk about the furnace down there. I know they talk about the elevator down there and other things. So that equipment is super, super old, and we've patched it up over the years by spending a lot of money down there. I think we need to take a real serious look at what the cost to taxpayers will be without any help from the state or the federal government. If the repairs goes above the $2.73 million, the chairman of finance told me we're going to have to bring that entire Shaker Lane building up to code. It doesn't take very long to go past $2.73 million, especially when you already done spent $6 to get extra space. You already passed the 2.73. That's just with the extra space equipment there that you put outside for the need for the space. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to think seriously about exactly what we will do on the 28th of October as far as voting for the school, against the school. If we pass the $2.73 million, then the entire school must be brought up to date on the building code at a cost that the chairman of FinCom gives a rough estimation of somewhere in the neighborhood around $44 million. then the school will be required to move out of the Shaker Lane building entirely in order to bring that building up to code. Well, where are the kids going to go? Well, they came up with the understanding that probably the school department will need at least 16 to 17 more classroom modules for updating the entire Shaker Lane school building by moving all of the kids into classroom modules. So now we've passed the 2.73 million. Now we're talking about 44 million to update the school building. So now we're talking about 16 to 17 more classroom modules. And what we're talking about 15 to maybe $17 million more that we'll have to pay to get enough modules so that we can put the children in, hook up all the things that I mentioned earlier, the water, the electric, the sewer, the heat, the air conditioning, all that money we will put into that. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Why are we spending all that kind of money doing that? You're right. It doesn't make sense. So what does this look like when we talk about what happens if we vote the school down? What are our losses? Well, let's look at a no vote. And this will be the cost at the taxpayer 100%. No help from the state, no help from the feds. It's all coming out of taxpayers' pocket. This is what you're looking at. The first 6 modules, $6 million. This is just rough figures here, $6 million. Repair and equipment goes over to $2.73 million. The 17 modules that you need to move the additional students into out of the building, it's like $17 million. To update the school building, the building must be empty. It must be empty in order to go in and update it. So the total cost to taxpayers plus interest, this is just the principle of what it would look like. We're looking at $69.73 million plus interest that we would have to pay as taxpayers. That far exceeds building a new school. Far exceeds building a new school. It's almost at the point of the 73.7, which is the principal and the interest for a new school. We're at 69.73. So you're talking about $4 million that we would be within the cost to build a new school with interest included, where that we would be ending up spending 69 plus interest, and there's no help. No help whatsoever. So you may say, "Oh, these figures, you're off. I don't think it'll cost this." I'm giving you the figures that the chair of FinCon discussed with me, and this is what they estimate probably it will cost. whatever amount it will cost, it is wasted money. It is wasted taxpayer money. It is a waste to go down that roadway with classroom modules. So we spend all that money for the modules, $6 million, $17 million, $23 million. Okay, and then we hook up all this stuff on it. What do we do with it now if we update the Shaker Lane building? So what do we do with all those modules? Who wants them? A lot of districts got these modules sitting there that just going to waste. We're smarter than that in Littleton. We're more business-minded than that in Littleton. Let's don't waste taxpayers' money. Let's don't go down a road that we know that there's not going to be any help. Let's don't go down that road where we know there's not going to be any help. Let's don't go down there. Let's take the road that is going to give us help. So if we can get 73.7, include the interest, versus whatever it is, whether it's 69 or whether it's 49 or whether it's 39, there's still money that comes out of our pocket that we do not have any help for, and plus we're going to pay interest on it. Just doesn't make sense. Let's don't do that. So the new school will cost us $73.7 million. And the town is trying its best to give us an extra $10 million towards that amount through our in-levy budget by setting aside $500,000 over a 20-year period. Hopefully, that the town will be able to do that. I am giving you information here about what if they can, it's going to yield $10 million. What if they can't? All of it's going to come out of the debt exclusion that they collect from the taxpayers. If it passes at the town meeting, if it passes at the election, it is the green light to build a new school. What if it doesn't pass? What are the losses? We lose the place at the Massachusetts School Board of Authority lineup for schools. We don't get the $38.2 million that they were going to give us on this. Now, we're going to have to come out of our pocket 100% to pay for making repairs, replacing equipment, whatever's going to be needed at that school, we're going to have to come out of our pockets to do it. Do we really want to do that? I don't think so. I think we want to do the right thing. And what is the right thing? The right thing is to build a school, build a new school, get the best bang for our dollar. How would you handle your budget if you had that before you? So these are the found costs and the actual costs that I got from the chairman of FinCom. as I said, the interest rate is starting to fall. And hope that it'll keep falling. As a matter of fact, the president wanted them to drop the person that got appointed and went to the governors of the reserve there. He abstained from voting because he wanted a higher price, a lower price rather, a larger amount on reducing the interest rate. And the president was saying that he wanted 3%, which would mean would knock it down to somewhere like 1 point something percent is where he would like to see the interest rate. Well, the chairman of the reserve said that he was lowering it based on the fact of the situation that was with the labor had more concern in terms of lowering this amount at this particular time. So that was his stand, and he was able to convince enough of them to lower it by 0.25%. But they may anticipate a couple more lowering of the interest rate before the year's out. We don't know. But if it happens, that's good. That would be for short borrowing of money, which means that once they start building the school, we can get some decent rate and not pay a high rate for it. That's what I'm hoping. First, we got to pass it at the town meeting. Second, we have to pass it at the election. So just to wrap this up and sort of kind of tell you where we at, the school cost is $98.1 million to build. The state true cost on the grant they're going to give us is $32.2 million. If we subtract that amount from 98, the true net cost is $59.9 million. The chairman pointed out to me from FinCom that the startup cost to build a school, start a school and build a school, is like $9.2 million will come off the top of the $59.9 million, which is the net cost right now. That will leave a net true cost of $50.7 million plus interest for the town to deal with. And as I said, the petition that I had was going to offset the annual debt payment. So if they're able to save $500,000 over a 20-year period, then that is good. But if they can't, we're looking at $50.725 million net cost plus $22.975 million for interest. That equals $73.7 million total cost for a new Shaker Lane school. If we can apply the $500,000 over 20 years, then the town true cost drops from $73.7 million down to $63.7 million. That's that $10 million I talked to you earlier about. So that is good. And I'll remind you again, if the town cannot put $500,000 yearly for 20 years in a stabilization fund, in levy budget, then all of the payments to pay for the Shaker Lane annual debt payment will come from outside of the levy, which is the debt exclusion that we're going to get billed for yearly for 20 years, over and above our regular property taxes that we pay yearly. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is what is going to happen if we pass it. This show is going to be a repeat from now until the 1st of November, unless I have to come back and change something, and hopefully I don't have to do that for it to be going up. I'll certainly be happy to do it if we get more money. I will keep you abreast as to what's going on. But this is so important. Please tell others to tune into LCTV on demand and watch this program. This is a straight talk program directly to you, the citizen here in Littleton. I am trying to give you the best information that I can. That's why I went to the chairman of FinCom, because I knew that I would get the right information from him. That's why I put this program together today, to come and tell you my conversation that I had with the chairman of FinCom. And I'm very thankful to him that he taken the time. When I asked him, I said, I need to speak to you. Do you have time? He said, of course, George, I have time. We sat into this employees' lunch break room after everybody had left this building, and we were still sitting there talking about the Shaker Lane financial situation. I'm very appreciative of the time that he gave me. That way I could come and give you a good report about where we stand with Shaker Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great honor for me to have worked on trying to get good information for the citizen here in Littleton about building a new Shaker Lane school versus trying to repair the school that we have now. Our pupils deserve a good learning environment. They deserve a good facility to learn in. And I've heard some say, well, there's maybe some things there about this school that probably they shouldn't have there. Well, I don't know. I haven't went into the details about that, but my main thing is I know they need a school. I know they need a better facility and one that has been enhanced up to date with the stuff that it needs to be in it as a school. And I'm very grateful to the state that the state has given us as much money as they have with regards to helping us to build a new school. I believe they've recommended and approved that it go on out to the blueprints and so forth and so on be done at this time. We've spent quite a bit of money already into the preparation of the school. You have to do that. So let's don't waste that money, because it is money that we are paying as taxpayers that they're using. Let's make good on that money that we're spending right now. We don't have no loans or anything. That's money that's coming out the treasury that we're paying right now. So let's don't waste that money. Let's have a hard-earned money that's put in there. And I also want to say, the seniors in this town are on limited amount of resources. They don't get no exemptions. The best that they have is the town program that helps them to help pay down at least $1,500 on their property tax. I don't know if the FinCom and the Select Board is going to try to find some means that maybe seniors might be able to get more hours to help offset their taxes if Shaker Lane School passes. But at any token, I thank the seniors for having to continue to pay property taxes in this town, because in this nation, there are many cities in town, once you reach the age of seniors, you no longer pay property tax. So I think every senior that struggles to pay their property tax like everybody else in this town. I will be voting for the school. I already have told you what happens if the voters vote no. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for giving me your undivided attention here with regards to a subject that is so critical to each and every one of us. And I pray to Almighty God that we pass to build a new school at Shaker Lane, because our children here in this town deserve the best when it comes to education. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank each and every one of you, and God bless you each and every moment. Thanks.